I always drew a lot as a child. I really liked it. And I think that we're also informed by our relationship to books. Children's books are probably the first time that you're asked to look at a two-dimensional image and interpret it somehow. When I got to school, I wasn't sure if I wanted to study English writing or art, and I found that the art classes, somehow they were really terrifying in a really good way, and I learned the most there. And I started the first serious series of paintings that I made was this narrative series, and they were very small with watercolor and gouache. I was working from dreams and I was working from memory. I was painting pictures of the inside of my parents' house and the woods around it. And I think that part of my interest was in seeing what happens when you try to paint a real place from your memory and the changes that get made by accident in trying to depict that. And for me, there was a narrative sort of contained in those transitions that were created. And then to go back and sort of compare the real place to the imagined memory place was very symbolic to me somehow. The stamp paintings, I began after school, I suppose, and I was used to working with these materials and working small, but it was sort of an accident of scale because I was also interested in bookmaking, and I had made a small book, hand sewn, about 3 inches square as a test, but I didn't know what to put inside of it. And it sat empty for a few years. But I'd also had this, my father was a stamp collector and my grandfather was a stamp collector, and at some point, about 20 years ago, my dad offered me this big envelope full of stamps. They were also full of letters and beautiful envelopes with handwriting and postmarks, and I thought they were just gorgeous, gorgeous objects. And I really liked the fact that they contained, the outside of the envelope says who and when and where, but the what and the why are hidden inside. That aesthetic just really appealed to me somehow, and I would flip through these envelopes sort of like you would look through a book. So I guess the two things came together because eventually I made a picture, I drew a picture on the first page of the little book that I'd made. And I didn't like it, it was awful. So I needed something to cover it up, and the postage stamp was just the right size. And I glued in it was a map of Australia on a postage stamp. And I glued that on the first page, and that was it. I didn't do anything else to it. It looked great. But then the second page, I was like, oh, this makes sense. So the second page, I glued down another stamp. And this time I painted just the littlest bit of a brown horizon, extending it out. That painting is on the first page of the catalog for the exhibition. Then the next page, I glued down another stamp and I added some sky and the ground. And slowly they just get more and more complicated, and you can see the idea sort of evolve until I started really filling the entire page and making a complete scene matching the stamp. Yeah, I would probably agree with that. I think also part of my stubbornness about wanting to not know what the reality is and work out of my own imagination, I think connects with that. They invited me about a year ago. They emailed and invited me to make a special series of stamps, make a special series of paintings with stamps from Mexico and exhibit here. And of course, I was delighted and very excited to learn of the museum. I think it's unique as far as philatelic museums go. The catalog, I really like. I love the design of it. I like the accordion beginning of it, and it's just very simple and clean. I feel like the aesthetic here overall at the museum is very clean lined, but it's sort of conceptual in the way that things are laid out, and that I really appreciate. From every printed publication that I see to the actual museum itself, it seems like the physical structure echoes the underlying concept. Well, the envelope in the exhibition is actually that first envelope that my dad had given me. So that is the beginning of these, and all the paintings that are in the book came out of that envelope full of stamps. Hi, my name is Molly Rausch. I'm from New Paltz, New York. You can also see more at mufi.org.mx.